Oh, please don't turn my car into a fireball. Mass-loaded vinyl has the potential to lower the outside noise considerably, and first place it's going is under here. However, my main question before I bought it was, is it safe? Turns out the answer is yes. It is fire retardant, and the second question was, is it easy to cut? Which also turns out to be a yes. But when I bought it, I assumed it was a peelable product. Turns out it isn't. So I need something to stick it on with. I ended up going with this product from Loctite as it seemed like it might do the job, but we'll find out later if that worked or not. When applying the mass-loaded vinyl, I tried to be a bit more calculated with measurements so it would fit exactly. I then used the Loctite glue to fix it in place, which worked amazingly for the first piece, but then not so much for the rest because turns out 4 grams doesn't go a long way, so it was off to my favourite place in the whole world, Buttonqua. After having a look at a few options, I quickly decided on going with something a bit more heavy duty and generous gram-wise, especially in relation to the price, as the Loctite was £4, I think it was, so it's like £1 a gram, which is really expensive. So yeah, I went with something a bit more generous gram-wise, which you'll see wasn't the best option later on in the video. Initially, the fact that it worked well as an adhesive for the particular material I'm working on won me over, but there is one major downside. After figuring how to use the stuff, I ended up sticking this builder's pizza into place, which worked great, and I continued my measured approach by making sure things fit perfectly. And the reason why this matters so much is that you don't want to leave gaps for sound to leak through. I continued to work away, cutting pieces to size as best I could, but that methodology quickly went out the window the further up the firewall I went, as it just became more and more difficult to see what I was actually doing. You also have to be a bit of a contortionist, and it is quite difficult, so if you appreciate the video so far, please do drop a like below. Now, you remember I said I slightly regretted my choice of adhesive earlier? Well, here's why. This is the finished result. Da-da! It looks a bit messy, doesn't it? Luckily, nobody's going to see it, but I do feel like Bodger and Badger have attacked the firewall. But crucially, the question is this: does it actually lessen the engine noise? Well, here are the results. On first listen, it might not seem like there's much of a difference, but anecdotally, it does lessen the engine noise, and in reality, you are going constant speeds most of the time, so the engine noise really doesn't leak through, and it only comes through when you're revving the engine anyway. The biggest difference I noticed is that the sound coming through seems to be duller and reads slightly lower at 30 miles per hour, which, if you watched any of my previous videos, is right on trend, and that's the prevailing wisdom of sound deadening in general. The difference is lessened though as we move up to 50 miles an hour, but as I've said in the last video, the soundproofing of the rest of the car is working as less noise is getting in, so it's only natural really that the engine will sound louder. All in all though, was it worth the work? As the firewall is really hard to reach, I'd say you can skip doing this part, as the work you put in doesn't really come through in the results. Now, I could have done a much better job. I could have been more diligent. I could have added more mass-loaded vinyl, but I'd rather not play Twister in my car. It's just very, very time-consuming and very, very uncomfortable. But what I would like to do is get the car up in the air so I can soundproof those wheel arches, especially under the wheel lining, because I feel that's really where the difference is going to come through, as most of the noise leaks into the cabin from there anyway. And I think, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to doing next. But if you haven't seen the previous episode, that's there, and I'll see you there.